Hey you guys, how are you? My name is Mariah. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So this story takes place in Texas. Eric Williams grew up in a small town named Azle outside of Fort Worth, Texas. And from what I know it to be described as, it's like a small country town, rural, everybody knows each other type of small town. It's just real close-knit community. And so growing up, he was described as being a loner and a kid that happened to love guns a little bit too much. And during this time of him loving guns, he ended up shooting his sister's cat through the eye. And we all know people that start off killing animals, right? We know where this story's going. And during this time, his family really hoped that he would grow out of being this loner, shy kid that stayed to himself. They wanted him to branch out and get friends and have fun. That's what they were hoping for their son. So when Eric started talking about wanting to go to the military, his family was very relieved that he took an interest into something, and that this would hopefully get him out of this reservedness that he was going through. But sadly, for one reason or another, Eric did not end up going to the military. He ended up going to college instead. And he attended the Texas Christian University. And there he was a part of the ROTC. Now his wife Kim, on the other hand, was raised in Dallas, Texas. And she attended Skyline High School. And she was described as being this Barbie doll, this beautiful, perfect, blonde, blue-eyed girl. Popular, outgoing, charismatic. And after she graduated from high school, she went and took some coursework at the Southern Methodist University, and then she also took a few more other classes at the University of Texas in Arlington. Eric and Kim, they met in the late 90s, and they would go on to get married May 13th, 1998. So after Eric and Kim got married, he went on to become a lawyer and then the justice of the peace. Now, on the other hand, Michael McLeland grew up nearby, just outside of Dallas. He was described as this beefy, popular guy. He got married straight after high school and went to college with dreams of working as a history teacher. Once on campus, though, he joined the ROTC and considered an Army career instead. Isn't that weird, like the parallels between the two? Like there was the same and similar, but yet so different, So after Michael completed his service in the Army, that's when he became the Kaufman County lawyer, and he had plans to go into politics. So the first time Michael ran for district attorney, he lost by 65 votes. And when he lost, some of his friends wondered if he was done in by this expose that was written and put into the Kaufman Herald. And within this letter, the letter questioned Michael McLeland's character and even noted that he had lied about being a Republican. Who was this person that wrote this expose? Eric Williams. So, eventually, when Michael McLeland did rerun for district attorney and win, he started hearing about Eric Williams' name again, right? There was little whispers, complaints, things that people were noticing, right? They were getting a little bit suspicious of Eric Williams. So this time, it was Eric Williams whose character was under question. Office supplies that Eric Williams had ordered had never been delivered to the courthouse. They had been delivered somewhere, but not to the courthouse. Surveillance cameras even showed him sneaking $600 worth of computer equipment out of the building. And to Eric Williams, this was like small stuff. Nothing that anybody would miss, right? Because the computers that he had allegedly stole, or I guess did steal, whatever he got caught on camera doing, right? Those computers were said to be old computers that they were getting rid of to get new computers. So to him, he felt like he wasn't stealing anything because they were going to throw them out anyway. That was what he was thinking in his head, right? But no. Not what they were thinking. at all. So, Michael McLeland had Eric Williams arrested, handcuffed in front of everybody, and charged with theft. And during this time, it was said that Michael McLeland told the assistant district attorney, Mark Hayes, to go after him hard and, quote, don't put him in jail, put him under the jail. So, Mark Hayes and Michael McLeland wasted no time convicting him. He was quickly tried and convicted. He lost his job and his law license. His lawyers appealed, but by this time, his career was already done. It was over. Nobody wanted to work with him. He couldn't even practice law if he wanted to because his license was taken from him. And to him, he felt like this was the harshest punishment anybody could ever receive. And he definitely felt like it was petty and spiteful and vindictive, and that Michael McLeland was still holding a grudge against him because of the expose he had wrote all those years earlier. So this is when he started devising this plan, started hatching this scheme in his head, because he turned into a madman, right? This essentially, you stripped his money from him, his career from him. You took his livelihood from him. So this made him so enraged. So this is when the plot thickens. Eric Williams was quoted as saying, "This wasn't revenge. This was logical. If McLeland and Hayes were dead, other people would come in and replace them. And surely their replacements would see that he had been persecuted and not prosecuted." So, with that being said, he felt like if these two people, Mark Hayes and Michael McLeland, were out of the way, he would get his old life back, he would get his old job back. But first, he had to get him out of here. So Kim, who at this point was heavily addicted to painkillers, agreed to go along with her husband Eric Williams' scheme, because she no longer argued with him. She no longer fought with him after all these years, or after all those years, because she was so heavily addicted to painkillers. She was numb to everything at that point. Even the fact that Eric Williams had, over the years, slept with multiple women, and even accidentally almost shot her twice prior to this, when he said that he was cleaning his guns and the guns accidentally went off. Twice. Eric Williams assigned his wife, Kim, as the getaway driver. So she took Eric down to the Kaufman County Courthouse in this cheap secondhand car. And Williams jumped out of the car as he seen Mark Hayes going towards his vehicle and shot him in broad day. He then climbed back in the car and Kim sped off. They ditched the car, and this is when Eric Williams started planning the next murder of Michael McLeland. So immediately, this was heavily reported on the news. People were scared. People were confused. People didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what to make of it. Nobody knew who could have done such a thing, because in this small town of Kaufman, things just don't happen like this. So that's when the ATF, the FBI, and the Texas Rangers got involved. They started going over people's houses, knocking on the door. Anybody's house that was close to the courthouse in Kaufman, they would go over to their house and ask them if they've seen anything, if they heard anything, or did they witness anything? Did they happen to see a car go by? Where were they at during the times that this shooting took place? There was a lot of heightened energy within the community. People were still wondering. Even the feds were thinking, is this something bigger? Are we missing something? Is this the Mexican cartel? Is this the Aryan Brotherhood? Because they didn't know which way to look, which way to turn, because this was the assistant district attorney. There was a lot of people that could have wanted to quote unquote, get revenge against somebody that had prosecuted them or somebody that they knew. So really, they were running around chasing their tails for a little bit, not knowing which way to go. But McLeland, who was a strong believer in the end of days, he felt like he was prepared for whatever was going to come his way. His home was reportedly stockpiled with guns and ammunition, but he wasn't ready for Eric Williams. On the eve of Easter Sunday, the doorbell rang. Cynthia McLeland opened the door to her uninvited guest, Eric Williams. Eric Williams then shot Cynthia dead at the front door. Then he walked into the hallway and shot her husband, Michael McLeland. The murders were done in 2 minutes, and Kim once again waited outside as the getaway driver. So after the murder of the McLelands, this really made authorities feel like this had to be the work of a bigger gang of people. This had to be the work of the cartels or even the Aryan Brotherhood, right? They were so convinced. The murder of the district attorney and his wife and the assistant district attorney, there had been nothing like it. Nothing. So they were baffled by the events leading up to everyone's murder. Not even the events leading up to the murder. They were baffled by the murders alone. Shortly thereafter, that local investigators remembered that Williams had ties to the 2 lawmen. And so then they tried to keep a good watch out for him at all times. He was kind of low-key under surveillance and under a microscope once people were starting to figure out, okay, who was in connection with them leading up to the months of their death. But they didn't need any help with that. It's not like Eric Williams was hiding out or anything. He was literally out there doing interviews on the news and even patrolling his neighborhood on a Segway. His lawyers were telling him to be quiet, telling him that he was talking too much because he would be giving these like smirking interviews to reporters, and people were starting to really question whether he had been involved in all the murders that had taken place, because he was coming off very smug during these interviews. And so finally, you know, you let a person talk enough, they start talking a little bit too much, right? And so he started running his mouth a little bit too much to the detectives, and they got to chatting about the different guns that he owned, and that led authorities to execute a search warrant on his home. And that's when authorities found an enemies list that he had wrote with Hayes and Michael McLeland's name on it at the very top. Then they found a storage unit filled with guns and ammunition. They started doing all this ballistic testing and forensic testing, and they arrested his wife first. And so once his wife was arrested, she kind of folded under pressure and started telling everything that happened leading up to the murders of Michael McLeland and Mark Hayes. And this is what led to the conviction of Eric Williams. Once he was tried, they gave him death. And because his wife had worked with the investigators, they gave her a 40-year sentence. Crazy, right? So if you haven't liked this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.